Hey everybody, Jacob here with Ground Zero, welcoming you to the fourth episode of the 0 Hour Podcast. I can't believe you guys are tuning in still, but I thank you for that. What are we covering today? We're really going to be kind of diving into Ground Zero's iterations, versions, and applications of pro audio gear. Now, we're going to be discussing what makes it different. We're going to be discussing the applications that we utilize, our pro-based Pro DNA car audio products into. And I'm going to be joined by a couple of special guests here to talk about, how these apply. So when we come back, we're going to be joined by Andy Smith, Rob Reilly, and we're going to talk about power sports. We're going to talk about fun, exciting builds, and we're going to talk about Pro SQ. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back. And as you see on your screen, I have one Rob Reilly, and on the other side of him, one Andy Smith. And these are two guys that I really value their opinions when it comes to the concept of pro and pro applications across the board for everything we do with Ground Zero. Andy, as you guys know, comes in dominantly on the power sports side, but Rob, much to his own internal struggles, has really started to embrace the motorcycle world and getting really this thought process of why are bikes starting to sound better. And we see this, I think a lot of it has to do with the product, but we saw this really at SEMA this year, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, Andy, you've brought all kinds of awesome stuff to shows, especially within the last couple of years, but the trike. Can you run us through what the thought process was with that trike that you helped build, and why, again, was the Ground Zero thought process the only way to go?
So, to be honest, the whole thought process was that trike was just cool. We had to do something gnarly with it. I mean, there's no way around it. So I saw the trike in the beginning stages, Cody from Voodoo Bike Works, and I just hit him up and said, man, we got to do something. We got to show that thing. And he was dumbfounded that I was asking about it. So we sat down, we put a plan together, and I told him, I want to put all Ground Zero in it. I mean, the bike market is so broad that there's different things. And as soon as I told him I was thinking, let's do a Ground Zero build in it, he was in. It took nothing to convince him after that. So, I mean, we set that thing up with ridiculous amounts of sizes of speakers, tweeters. I mean, what is there? There's, I want to say, 18 of the 20N Pro tweeters on that thing, which is ungodly when you start thinking about it. There's 4 of our, what everybody calls the red baskets, our mid-range. There's 4 of those on the rear fenders. We did 4 10-inch mid-range, the GZCM 10 SPLs. Personally, I had never used one of our 10-inch mid-range, but I'm telling you, those things were beyond impressive. Cody, in his true fashion as well, he built that trike, and he's like, well, we got somewhere else we can put speakers. So now all of a sudden we have 6.5s in the gas tank firing out the sides, right? It was something a lot of people don't see. We put our black baskets in there. We paired it with another set of tweeters, the 25 SQLs. And then we got to have some bass. That's what everybody's been chasing in the bike world. So we threw in some test product that we were playing with in the bike world, which was the Nuclear 30 SPL subs. Of course, we had a bunch of power going to everything, but the whole goal with it was picking the correct speakers so that they're going to blend and sound the best. My personal opinion, I don't think there was another bike at SEMA that could hang with the sound quality we got out of that trike. The other fun part was we played that thing from the time the floor opened till the time the floor closed. So we're talking 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. every single day. We might have kept it at a lower volume, but what it did was it grabbed attention from everybody walking by. Not just the look of the trike, but don't get me wrong, that thing's beautiful. And Rob even admitted to me he's not a bike guy, but he would love to own that thing. So it made it even more fun for me, right? But people walking by and they're just looking around trying to figure out, where is that sound coming from? And then when we would actually turn it up, we would draw people from all over the floor, and people would be coming back later going, I know that was you. We could tell because of how it sounded. It sounded so clean, and bass just carried out of it, which was even more fun. I mean, what was your guys' opinion on it?
Well, I remember when you said, I mean, you essentially called me and you said, normally we bring bikes, but this time I'm bringing a Volkswagen. I kind of chuckled, not knowing really where you were going with that conversation. So when we started
Yes.
talking trike, who cares? It's a trike. And you're right. Cody brought that thing in and just jaws dropped. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. And the work that was done on the audio side of it, really just goes to show that, again, we're chasing not just loud, but sound quality. Rob, you're an SQ guy inherently, but you're a bass head. What did you think about that, and how is that lining up with, what the trends are that you've seen, I guess, happening? I mean, you've been getting more involved on the power sports side. So what are you seeing?
Well, first of all, that trike was beautiful. I cosmetically, I couldn't believe how good it looked. So I'm, like I said, I'm not a bike guy, so to speak. I used to ride sport bikes, but when it comes to Harleys, that's not my jam. But I love that thing. And then Andy turned it on the first time I got to hear it. I was blown away. I love clean sound that sounds like a rock concert. In other words, loud, full, strong in the mid bass, all the things. And it brings literally all the things, clean as can be. Nothing like, I go to a lot of bike comps now, and that was still something different in an experience than anything else I've been around. And that was musical. It was all the things. So that was my favorite non-car at the show by a long shot. But what I noticed is something that Ground Zero has been doing for a long time. We're a sound quality company that happens to make loud, that happens to make bass. But you can't undo all that knowledge and experience. And so when we do loud, it is amazing. And other people are trying to figure out how to copy that, I think. I don't think anybody else is out there with us. We're kind of in a league of our own, but I noticed the trend is going to better and cleaner. It's just still not on par with us yet. And we're going to keep moving forward. So I'm not worried about that.
No, that's the fun part. I mean, we'll talk about it later, but I mean, what have you and I been teaching for a long time is that SQ, the way that the term is being used now, can be also synonymous with pro. I mean, Andy, when we started working together, from then to now, have you noticed a shift in even the work you do solely from more of an understanding of SQ, or working with us going, oh, I need to level up, I need to chase this? Like, I've seen even bikes that you've built are just progressively getting better and better, but the product's not drastically changing.
So
Are we just
you're not wrong. I mean, in reality, a lot of the stuff that I was using Ground Zero product in the beginning when I started working with you, started coming around, we'll say it that way. I'm still using a lot of the same stuff. We might have updated it a little bit. Ground Zero might have for us, but it's still the same mindset. So the main things that changed for me since I've been around and dealing with what I deal with Ground Zero and you guys as teammates, however we want to look at it, right? I feel like I'm using more of the SQ mentality in my builds. Before it was, you're just throwing a speaker in to make it loud. You're throwing a tweeter in to make it loud. Now, I know I'm messing with you guys with me adding, again, 14, 16, 18 horns, compression tweeters on a motorcycle. But as I've explained it to you, we're not getting them harsh. You can actually still hear exactly what they're doing. And all I'm using it for is staging all the way around the motorcycle, right? So it goes a long way. But what I gained out of the SQ side, I'm not an SQ guy. I'm not a car guy, but I'm not a bike guy, right? I love music and I love good product. So I'm one of the guys doing this. I enjoy it. I have fun with it. But what I've gained from the SQ side is I kind of learned that I am SQ. I want good quality sound. and found a lot of products that we have that I can do that with. So
Yeah.
I've kind of transitioned from, oh, I just want to throw this speaker in because it's got high sensitivity, or it's got a good frequency response range. Now I'm pairing them like you do in an SQ build. I'm building my own three-way setups, and then I'm trying to pair different things in different locations to get them to do exactly what I want them to do and get things to blend. I feel like I've done a pretty good job of learning and progressing as we go. I love the feedback we've gotten from each and every one of these shows. Everyone just, it feels like everyone's asking, how are you going to one up the last show? So far, we've done it, but I just set the bar extremely high with Cody's trike. I'm sorry.
Well, but even then, the fun thing about that mentality is because the product is so wide and your expertise is so wide, like you could one up that trike with what you guys would call a 4-speaker build, because it's just so different and so weird that like they wouldn't expect that. So, for me, the awe factor, the thought process of more is less and less is more and doing all these fun things, like I'm not expecting a 4-speaker build to do what that trike does. But when you bring a 4-speaker build to something or a 6-speaker build and it impresses even me as much as it does, it's like, oh, okay, well, that's how we're going to one up, because we're just one upping everybody else again in an entirely different way. And I think
that
we've got
one up is more fun because we're going smaller and they're going bigger to try and one up what we did. Right. And then we hang with them or beat up on them. Right.
Right. Well, I mean, everything you
all
do,
these other manufacturers coming over going, how are you doing that? Well, we got the right gear.
Right. Absolutely. And it's something that Ground Zero has been doing for a long time. This isn't a new thought process. This isn't chasing what is popular in the 12-volt industry right now. It's been part of their catalog for a long time. It's just really awesome to be able to see it kind of roll into that. So I would say, honestly, power sports in a nutshell. We've talked about some trends. We've talked about how, have we forced people to have to step up into sound quality, and all these kind of fun things that go along with a product line that we've been dealing with for a long time. But when we come back, we will talk a little bit more with Rob about kind of the traditional, what we're seeing pro utilized in cars, and how he has helped kind of change or reevaluate thought processes there. And we can talk about some of those cool build styles. So we'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back. And now we're going to shift gears a little bit. We're going to talk more about an entirely different segment of the pro audio 12-volt industry. And we're going to focus a little bit more around some conversation with Rob in this. But pro audio for me for a long time was those, that thought process of door panel for days, or the stunt walls that guys are putting in the back of trucks, or, you open the trunk of a car and the whole back area is, mid-ranges run off a single monoblock amplifier, which I still don't understand. But Rob, what are some of the things that are kind of the focus in the industry when we're taking this pro car DNA Ground Zero type product and putting it into the car world? Like, what are we seeing are kind of the standards of those installations?
Well, the pro audio world, I think it's changed a lot. It's morphed over the past 5 or 10 years.
Okay.
Where it used to just be, like you said, stunt walls. You used to see videos of Brazil or someplace that had these crazy walls of speakers. And then it kind of got into the bass heads, and the bass heads that have gigantic woofers and they need something to keep up with it. So they throw the volcanoes on the doors. And there's, 7 or 8 mid ranges on these literal volcanoes. And that was their attempt to try to get some kind of vocals to keep up. But they were all repurposed pro audio 8 ohm from soundstage equipment. And I think Ground Zero, long time ago, has embraced that product and made a specific version for cars, for inside of cars. They've been doing it a long time. I think we're just starting to embrace it. We're starting to understand it. We're starting to utilize it in the way it's meant to. Um, I have a shop in Tulare, California, A1 Audio, that's brought a couple vehicles to Knowledge Fest and Master Tech and a few different things. And I've been working with them for quite a while on changing from some other brands to Ground Zero. And once they did that, it opened their eyes into what could be done with good sound, yet still loud, but you don't need 9 on a door. If you pick the right product, 2 or 3 is more than enough to keep up, because the sensitivity of pro audio is so high. You might have a 96, 98 dB sensitivity mid-range versus a normal 87 to 91 car audio speaker, and it is immensely louder on 100 watts. You don't have to give it 500 watts or 300 watts or something crazy amount. A little goes a long way with something that sensitive. When it's designed properly, like Ground Zero does, Clipple designed on everything that we produce, it's still got that sound quality DNA in the background. So now that you're producing loud concert level sound, it still sounds amazing. And so they're able to do things, and the trend is to go that direction: less tweeters, less mids, and just better overall sound. And Andy knows because he's been utilizing it in bike audio. So
we just transitioned what works well in cars that they've made. We've adapted it and got it to work in bike. That's all it is.
And then full circle back into cars, especially in the US, where
right,
our pro thought process, at least with with our team, started with the bike guys. Even though it was a car audio product, or even though it was a karaoke product, as we were kind of told, we gave it to Andy. Andy figured out how to use it, and then now we're full tilt back into cars going, oh yeah, by the way, this stuff sounds pretty good. Looks like Rob's pretty frozen in that wonderful face.
Which is amazing. But so going back to that though, you're not wrong. It was kind of like we got stuck. I can't say stuck. We got introduced with the bike side, right? We just adapted it, made it happen, found ways to make the product work. And I work with Rob a lot. I talk to him all the time. I'm asking him questions. I'm having him help me, especially now that we've transitioned a lot of stuff. Everybody's wanting a ton of bass out of these motorcycles, which shouldn't do it. What's happened now, though, is Rob is coming back to me going, hey, what would you do in this scenario speaker-wise? What would you pair? Because you learned how to do this in open air. You found what works. What can I try with this build coming up? Suggest to this place. What's your suggestions? And we go through, we toss ideas back and forth all the time. But transitioning what I've learned back into the car, all it is I transitioned what you guys learned from car into motorcycle, and now it's going back again. We're just kind of swapping where we're at. And to me,
absolutely,
the pro audio side is in the car and truck world is coming back as big or bigger than the motorcycle world is right now.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing is, like, I mean, with the amount that you guys talk and with the experience that you guys have, are there some particular items that really kind of cross that threshold very easily? I mean, I know, Andy, you've got experience with a tweeter in both your personal truck and a lot of the cars. And I know, Rob, I mean, we've talked about some builds that you've, wanted to do. Are there some things that you guys have talked about, particular SKUs that are kind of the default or the go-to for both applications?
Absolutely. Starting at the top, the competition 25 SPL. It's a silver 2.5-inch diameter waveguide style tweeter that is 1-inch soft dome, amazing sounding. It is truly car audio. It's just a higher sensitivity. It's not in a horn loaded compression sensitivity, but compared to normal car audio tweeters, it is highly sensitive. And that piece, it transitions from car audio to bike audio. Andy talked about it in the last segment. He added some of those into the trike, but they're a little directional. They because of the shape of that waveguide, but it is one of the smoothest, warmest, loud tweeters I've ever heard. and so it transitions well into outdoor or inside the car. So that's one of my favorite pieces. What about you, Andy?
Well, so using that, then I said the same thing in the trike as well, and I use it in car. Jacob referenced my personal truck as well. I don't have the tweeter you were talking about in the truck, but then what I do love to pair with that tweeter is the GZCM, the 6.5 Neo DC. Everybody calls it a black basket. I love the vocals and clarity I get out of that thing with very, very minimal work. And it'll take almost any kind of power you want to throw at it. But blending that 6.5 or even the 8-inch version with the 25 SQL tweeter you're talking about is almost flawless. They just pair together so well. Those are two of my favorite SKUs that we carry.
Absolutely.
Then where do you go from there? I mean, my next one that I'm going to pair with it is either going to be a GZCK, the yellow basket, as everyone calls it, or another one. If we're doing a 10 in my world, I love the GZCW 10 SPL.
Absolutely. See, so the CW I think is a perfect speaker, a woofer, truly a woofer.
Yes.
So it plays up into vocal frequencies, unlike subwoofers. When you're doing a stunt wall, that thing, it's amazing because its sensitivity is high, the power handling is extremely high, and it's going to carry. So when you're doing a stunt wall and you've got lots of mids, you need mid bass or bass to keep up with that. And that's where that shines. In a car, in a door, that's asking a bit much out of a door to try to wrangle in that much woofer. But that's where the CK, that would be my next go-to, would be the CK, the 8-inch competition kick woofer, and the yellow basket, as it's known. 6.5 if you can't fit the 8, but if you can get the 8, I mean that is perfect for pro audio doors.
And kind of back to what I said a little bit ago, we're basically taking the setups and building our own three-way out of the pro gear to get us where we want to blend with in the big pro builds, to blend and keep up with the bass you guys are getting. I'm beyond jealous how much bass you guys can get. I'm trying. I'm really trying, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah, that's a lot to ask. Airspace is key. One of the things they do a lot in these pro builds now is they do these headache racks up behind you, and like in a pickup truck, they'll put in 4 8-inch mid-range louds because there's no purpose of putting a mid bass up that high. The enclosure is too small. You're not going to resonate those frequencies, but they want absolute sheer volume to keep up with a blow through with 412s or 15s or whatever combo there is. And type of music they're playing could be anything from Spanish music to hard rock. It doesn't really matter. Guys that are just looking for volume with that pro, and that gets insane. I mean, sometimes I'm jumping out of the car because it's crazy how loud these things get now. Sometimes it's too much for my old ears.
Yeah, I feel the same way from time to time. But Andy, you had mentioned something, and this is what I want to talk about when we come back. But you essentially said you're using equipment to make a three-way. And what
100%.
do Rob, what do you and I normally equate a three-way car audio build to?
I think we call that Pro SQ.
I think we call that SQ, and being able to do it with Pro is Pro SQ, and we will dive a little bit more into that when we come back. All right, so before the break, I threw a term out there, and it might not resonate home with everybody, but Pro SQ. For a long time, Rob and I taught a class on this because what we were trying to do, and we had kind of discussed it a little bit in the last segment, was pro in the U.S. really became synonymous with the power sports industry, specifically the bike competition world. And what we saw Andy be able to do and be able to accomplish through education and tuning and all the fun things was build some phenomenally great sounding bikes. So how did we pull that back into the car world, and how did Rob and I really kind of develop almost an entire curriculum on this concept of Pro SQ? Is, to me, we pulled from old school. Old car audio competition was, as Rob mentioned earlier, kind of repurposed soundstage equipment. It was pro audio gear because no one was really making extremely high-end car audio products at the time. So they were using soundstage equipment in their competition cars. And then it started to focus into more kind of biased towards car product. We saw the power sports industry really thrive on high efficiency, but Pro SQ, Rob, we've talked about this thought process a lot, but when I say that to you, what is the first thing that pops into your mind? Pro SQ.
Fun.
Right.
I mean, honestly,
Yes.
it's about fun, and that it relates a lot to what Andy does in power sports. I think that's why the draw is so big in the bike world right now, is because it's fun. The music is fun. It's loud, and it's full, and it's warm, and it's inviting. And it's kind of different than true competition SQ, where we're trying to get this perfect rendition of somebody playing live music in front of you, like an oboe and a string, and there's a person, but there's no re-recording, there's no amplification. It's modest in volume, it's kind of quiet, it's intimate, and that's a great thing in itself. Pro SQ is, it's a concert. It's standing in front of the stack, your favorite singer is over there jamping around on the screen, high kicking and screaming, and you're feeling the bass in your body, you're feeling the strums, that everything is hitting you in your body. And that's Pro SQ. It's kind of what got most of us into audio back in the old days. Was when you were young, you didn't want the quiet live performance of a singer 10 feet away. You wanted that loud reproduction, but it had to sound good.
Right.
It can't just be loud. And the industry, I think, kind of went so far into loud for so long, they've lost track of quality. Pro SQ were able to take that concept of high-end SQ, where you've got a three-way tweeter, a 3-inch, and maybe a 6 in a door. And in Pro SQ, we're going to say, well, let's do a 10 and a 6 and a louder tweeter. And now we've amped up everything, multiply times 5, maybe 10 on volume, but it's still going to sound great. And if it's not sounding great, that's not Pro SQ. That's just Pro.
Right.
The SQ is the fact that we can make it sound like it's supposed to. True, clean reproduction that just takes over your body. It is supposed to be an emotional experience. And Pro SQ 100% does that.
Well, it's funny that you mention it that way, because when we were at SEMA, Andy was screwing hardcore with our buddy Nick Wingate by playing some of the tracks that he was playing, or he had
in the full out SQ build.
Right.
Because why not? I can do that. I can actually reproduce the sound as good as the SQ cars, but we did it loud. And you're not wrong, though. It was extremely fun for me to watch Nick's face the first track that he had played when I played it on the trike. Just watch him. He did a complete 180, turn around going, really? And
I was standing next to him.
All of you guys standing there listening to it going, holy crap.
He literally said, well, that doesn't suck.
Right.
Right.
And again, this is the whole point, right? Is one of Nick's biggest things that he talks about is, even in competition where they're kind of lacking, is it's got to be about the music. It can't just be about it being technically perfect. It can't be about, oh, well, left of center is 2 inches too far to the left. Like that kind of almost ruins SQ reference type competition for me. But that's why I think Pro SQ is so fun, is it really is and I've said it's the 120 miles an hour down the highway with windows open, still having accuracy and detail and volume and fun and excitement. And, there's a reason you're doing well over the speed limit, is because Metallica came on, and all of a sudden that's your band that gets you in the mood, or whatever it is. You are feeling emotion based on the excitement that is going on. And that, I think, is part of the thing. Andy, you do pro in both your personal vehicle and your bikes. You chase that I hate to, you chase that kind of thought process in just about everything you do. Um, is ground zero part of the reason why that's even at all possible for you? Or is it just you've taken your knowledge and been able to apply it with us? Or is it a lot of it's because of the product that we've been able to provide?
To be 100% transparent on that, I wouldn't do any of what I do had it not been for ground zero. And what I mean by that, I had sought out a manufacturer that had everything when I opened my shop and really got into what I've done. Okay. I've embraced everything that they have, and I've learned from not just the team that I work with daily, but from everyone at ground zero. And the fact that they take my input now and help to develop, I get to help develop new products, tweak current products, and they trust me to test a lot of equipment. I'm not going to lie. I don't know another brand that I have never dealt with another brand that has openly embraced someone like they have me. And yeah, I wouldn't do what I do if it wasn't for ground zero.
Right. And Rob, I mean, being an old school base head and talking about kind of the developments of what's happened. I mean, pro is part of your life, whether we love it or not. I mean, you're also, don't get me wrong, have a phenomenal ear. You've got definitely a reference mentality also. But like you said, I mean, would you be having fun if all you had was pro or reference or SPL, or is it because it's all the things?
It's because it's all the things, 100%. I mean, I love SQ. Competition it's where I started. If you go back to the 80s is when I started working in a shop, and
That's
we
fine.
had home audio.
Andy and I were single digits in the 80s, so
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
So whatever. Anyway, but that's where pro audio mentality works for me, because way back, that's what we did. I mean, you might put a couple of 18s. Rockford was the brand back in the day, I think, that had these big 18-inch woofers, and you had to use Electro Voice and all these other loud speakers to try to keep up with it. It was a mess. And now we have a company that has everything in one umbrella. We can do louds, we can do bass, we can do pro, we can do SQ comp. And it's really unusual combination. I don't think it exists anywhere else.
no, and I'm kind of in the same boat you guys are. For me, that's the thing. We kind of broke this down into three sections of power sports and pro SQ. But let's be honest, the reason that those other two exist for us is because we can talk about this SQ car audio mindset. That being said, we will be right back. There you have it. I mean, at the end of the day, when we look at pro, we have to kind of take a step back and think, what is pro to us? And I think everything we do is more centered around the concept of pro SQ. You heard Andy say it. Even in bikes, we're talking about building a three-way component set. Now, granted, he's doing it with a lot of drivers duplicating frequency ranges and firing all over the environment that the install is living in. And for Rob, in the more traditional pro builds, we're talking that pro SQ three-way mindset, trying to get away from having to do an array of 6.5-inch mid-bass drivers and the utilization of a pro, GZCK 8 or 10 if you can fit it. So I think anytime we mention pro, it is implied that we are talking pro SQ. We are talking about the love and the recreation of music and emotion. And these are things that I've said for a long time. So again, it doesn't matter if you're power sports. It doesn't matter if you're car. It doesn't matter if you're an SQ competitor. Like, we all want the same thing. And I believe that we have the ability to do it. That is it for us for this week. Join us on the next episode 5, to talk about the thing that I referenced, I think, at the end of episode 2, high-end builds. what does it take to get there? What is the definition of a high-end build? And who is that customer? I will see you on the next one. Hit subscribe, because I hate saying it, but they make me say it. And I'll see you guys later.